If you are enjoying this podcast and other podcasts on the Dragon Wagon Radio Network, be sure to check out the Dragon Wagon Shop. Awesome t-shirts and mugs from your favorite shows so you can tout your podcast pride, all while supporting your favorite indie podcast network. And make sure to check it often for new items and limited time designs. So shop now at dragonwagonshop.com and get your dragon swag on. Hello and welcome to Dungeons and Dragon Wagon, the Rymoor Reason, Chapter 9, Round Table. Chapter 9.
I can't believe we are here.
We only have one more of these to do after today.
It's been a long time coming.
But let's not get ahead of ourselves. What does that mean? It seems like you're like...
We've been at this for a long time.
Trying to get rid of us here. As we get closer to end game here, lots of things are happening. And by God, a lot of things happened in Chapter 9, Matthew.
It was quite the chapter.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
It was.
We learned some things about Matson.
I'm still not okay with this. I am holding Matt.
Junk is fine, but Jake is fine. Jake is not fine.
What was that?
Junk is fine. Jake is not fine.
Okay, so everybody, we're all keeping track of who's fine and not fine right now.
Yes. I'm on the fence.
Oh, really?
Yes. I'm straddling a fence, and
Paul
it's very comfortable.
or Orny. Oh, I see.
It does seem that you're always sitting on a fence whenever you're here.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Well, I, for one, feel like a great weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. Finally, I don't have to carry around this burden anymore, this secret.
Yeah, the shit that we've been carrying.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so...
And a literal egg.
Yeah.
And the literal egg. What the fuck, Matson? What the fuck, man? So
deceptive.
Yes. So we found out at the tail end of Chapter 9 that Matson is a filthy, disgusting liar.
Oh.
Who doesn't deserve
more than that.
Friends with the party. He's a murderer.
That is very harsh.
Mm-hmm.
He's a mass murderer.
But he's atoning.
Well, I mean, he himself didn't kill all those people. He ordered it.
All right. They were just doing their job.
And they were just following orders, so who's really at fault here? Someone
might say Charles Manson was the killer of the first set of murders.
Did you just equate Matson to Charlie Manson?
They do both sing. People often don't hear Matson sing, but he does, and he sings quite lovely.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Alexandra, did you play Dragon Age Inquisition?
No.
You did not. Matt, you didn't play it.
I did not. No.
Yeah. See,
but I hear great things.
I'm a Dragon Age fan, and there's a storyline in Dragon Age Inquisition that has similarities to this. And when you find out, it is similarly angering, perhaps, and you get choices because that game is full of choices.
Yeah, the whole game is
the Matson in question is like, do you let him rot in jail forever? Do you murder him? Or do you invite him back into the fold?
And this is someone that's like been in the party the whole time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, I guess we're going to see whether or not Matson gets invited back into the fold.
He was invited.
Matson just won't be in the last episode. They decided to kick him out.
Paul, we're going to invite you to come do the session with us, but Paul's going to start it in his intro. He's going to be like, and away we go. So the party killed Matson.
Yeah. Carrying Matson's head on his ornamental pike, Junk journeyed.
I knew I stole that thing for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, man, shit just hit the fan. And I feel like you did a really good job of lying to us for all those. So I'm mad at you, Matt. But I'm proud of you for being such a disgusting liar.
It was actually incredibly tough. I'm already not a great improviser, but it was so hard to keep track of all my different motivations because I had
lies.
I had to keep up this lie and pretend like I wasn't, but also Matson's struggle. Like he had, he put on this front, not that he showed that he was like, oh, this is a thing and I'm proud that I did it, but deep down,
right? Yeah,
he was also ashamed.
By the way, can we talk about the fucking sociopath that not only commits this act, but then when asked like, oh, why are you down here, he tells a story that is the story that puts him as a hero, which means in his own mind he knows what the right thing to do was. It's not like he said like, oh yeah, I was I was caught stealing something, so they tried to, he didn't have to reference the thing that happened at all to any of us. You'd never had to include that in the lie.
Sociopath or guilt? Does he really, is that how Matson wished it went?
Ooh.
Yeah. Like, oh, you seem like I wanted to be caught. Like I wanted someone to figure out the truth. Like 'cause
Maybe.
I feel the guilt. Like I want to be.
Or it's like you were like,
punished.
it's easier on your psyche to paint yourself as the person in the ethical right here.
Sure.
I would be really curious in the moment anyway to have known how Orny would have reacted to this news, and
Oh yeah, we got to tell Orny next time we see him.
I don't think Orny would have cared. Orny would have been like, yeah, whatever. It's war. You do what you got to do.
that seems like a stretch.
I guess we'll find out. But yeah, in the moment, who knows?
And I do appreciate the way that Matsun thinks in this sense, despite being maybe morally corrupt, of telling Polytheral, the man who took his magic from him, like, hey, I did what I needed, what needed to be done for our people to win. Like, people weren't going to make the tough decisions. He's kind of playing himself as the martyr here, at least to Polytheral,
Right.
not to the rest of the party, of course.
Right.
But I don't know. I respect. It's an interesting tale you wove.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'm really interested to see the response from listeners.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you haven't written us yet, please tell us what your thoughts are on the end of chapter 9.2.
Yeah. One of our friends had texted me. He had only listened to 9.1 so far, and he's like, "Oh, you couldn't go through with killing the people or something like that." And I was like, "Oh, just wait, just wait, buddy."
Aw.
We're talking a lot about the ending of 9.2 and the ultimate decision that Matsun made, but let's not gloss over
Yes.
the chapter in
beginning.
its entirety, in which, of course, our guest of quest for chapter 9 was the one and only Dom Zook.
Yeah.
I pronounced his name wrong multiple times, so I thought it was Zook. It's just Dom Zook, the creator and purveyor of Saving Throw Show, which is this fantastic channel with tons of D&D content. If you aren't familiar, if you didn't go after our last couple episodes, please check it out. Saving Throw Show. I'm sure if you just Google Saving Throw, it'll come up. But the falling star, that his desert folk falling star was quite a mysterious character.
He was. I mean, a lot wasn't revealed in 9.1, actually. He played a lot to the vest.
Yeah.
I was really excited to have a desert folk character be brought to life. That as soon as we started developing the backstory of where you all came from, and I was trying to figure out like what brought you all down to Rymoor in the first place, because I think that's always a safe place to begin when you have players that don't know anything about the land that they are playing in. It's like
motivations.
Okay, yeah, you're all strangers. You come from this land above, but even then, it's a pretty common thing, specifically in sketch writing and improv, to not talk about something that you don't see ever.
Right.
And so as soon as I was like, okay, there's this war in the north, it'd be really nice to have a story where we meet a desert folk, and maybe we just see the Shadow Elf and the desert folk sort of forced into this kinship.
Yeah, I'm really glad you did that, actually. It helped contextualize a lot, I think, and put together a lot of pieces that we sort of tried to flesh out even on our own stories a little bit, like Junk had spent some time with them.
Yeah, well, the second you told us about that war, that's when I was like, oh, okay, well, this is a great... this is like the reason why can Junk fight. That's what I always thought about. Like, just because he's this big brute dude doesn't mean like automatically should
Has
be
skill.
able. Yeah,
Right, that's
and I was like, oh, the reason he fought was
He is
because
automatically good at basketball, though.
Wow.
and of course, it's literal baskets because of the time. Because of the time, this real life time that existed once.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like the idea that Junk, essentially orphaned as a kid, ran away, barely escaping this destruction of his own village. And it only makes sense that like the next adult that would find this young half-orcan boy would take him in. And then if it was somebody who happened to be in the midst of a war, might be like, oh, hey, look at this person is an anomaly. There's nobody else like him. He's very big and strong. Let's put a warhammer in his hand and send him to battle. So I was like, oh, and it was nice to get to meet Falling Star and then to get to explore a little bit of that history with him in Versus, because even though this was a very Matsun-centric, say that 10 times fast, episode, it was fun that even now, still late in game, like we're still getting to discover some stuff.
I
with
just
our
had
other
a
characters.
thought, though, that, having spent time with them, I find it amusing that Junk didn't really know what the pipe was. like he wouldn't have seen that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the pipe was something that wasn't really a battlefield situation. You know, Junk was, they abused him, essentially. They put him in the front lines and
He was
took
the Hulk
advantage. And let's not forget, he ultimately left because he didn't like the way that the desert folk spoke of the Shadow Elves.
Right.
Because there was, it's an inherently racist war from what we're led to believe.
Yeah, and also I'd be willing to give any knowledge about the desert folk a bit of a pass in terms of the difference between who the Shadow Elves are and the desert folk. The Shadow Elves are very much like conform. Like they across Morganfall, you will find similar kinds of people with similar beliefs because it is this sort of very like strong militant front.
Right.
Whereas the desert folk is a conglomerate of several different types of people and different tribes all working together. So what goes for Falling Star might not be true for the desert folk that Junk met.
Despite the fact that Junk knew why desert folk were named the way they were named.
Yeah, that was fun.
Which was a fun piece of information that Paul gave me that I was really glad to utilize in gameplay, which was...
The bear.
Yeah, which when I realized after the fact, that was just something that I came up with. And then I realized like, oh, wait, the guy who was his friend in the war was named Raging Grizzly Bear, just ripped off the front door. I don't think there's a lot of raging grizzly bears in the middle of the desert. It's interesting that the desert folk...
They were traveling when he was born.
Yeah.
It's a desert grizzly bear. Speaking of gnomes and elves and magic...
a desert grizzly bear. He's just like really
His
sallow.
coloration's
He's
a little
really
different.
skinny and not a lot of food out there.
Yeah, among all the mythical creatures we've run across, a desert grizzly bear seems the most out there.
Somehow.
Fair point, Paul.
Yeah, I think it was actually a pretty brilliant move that was the first time we meet a desert folk person, because if we had just ran into one in the travels, that's one thing, or if the episode was just about meeting another Shadow Elf, but the first time we meet these two people, they're hanging out together and they're supposed to be mortal enemies. That automatically introduces a really interesting element. So
and set the tone to be very uncomfortable, maybe.
Adds mystery. You're like, wait, why are these two people together?
And then the fact that each one of them at some point pulled Matson aside and were like, hey, don't trust the other person. And like, hey, Voren's being like, oh, Falling Star's fine. We'll deal with him, but it's not about him.
Right.
He's happenstantial. It definitely made for a lot of secrecy, Matson. But inversely so, too, it dictated our relationship to them. Yeah. Because I feel like if we did just run across a random desert folk some point in our story, Matson would have been more inclined to just like
be aggressive,
be hostile.
Yeah.
How does it feel as players to have a secret conversation being had aloud that you as Jake and Alexandra can hear, but Adeline and Junk are not privy to?
I feel like it's the same as they always say about Alfred Hitchcock's approach to suspense, where it's better to see the bomb under the table because then you are anticipating that. And so that for me as a player, I'm like, okay, I know this information. Now, how do I insert myself into this story in a way where I can hopefully reveal it or entice some sort of action from it?
So it's funny that you say that. I am 100% completely different. A total 180.
As a player or as Junk?
As a player.
Really?
And as Junk. Like, in the beginning of 9-1, we met Captain Wolf, one of my favorite characters that Paul got to play. I really loved Captain Wolf. He was fun. And there's an entire conversation that happens with Captain Wolf before Junk comes downstairs during his fantastic morning that he had. And like when you guys were having that, I, as Jake, just checked out because I was like, Junk's not here for this. And I kind of like actively didn't pay attention so that when I enter in as Junk, I legitimately don't have that information so that I can, play the character really and be like, oh, I really don't know what the plan is or what we're after or what we're doing.
That's fun.
Interesting.
So I
Two
try
different takes.
Yeah, I try to check out a little bit. In fact, I might have been writing once the conversation was happening. I was probably like writing or looking through Pod Dog's barking at the door, or looking through my inventory and be like, oh, what kind of stuff do I have? Like doing some personal sheet landscaping.
Right. So
and then inversely, so I always play Junk as generally not knowing what's happening. So not a stretch. But I enjoy. I mean, these guys will tell you I hate when the party splits up. Generally, I'm always like, let's not split up the party. But sometimes it does make for really captivating storytelling.
Those fun moments, yeah.
Also, it's
a little bit of tension.
And by the way, this entire chapter, I think, had the most one-on-one conversations in any chapter.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We had
all the different people talking to Matsun, I think.
Yeah. No, because then also we had me and Falling Star.
Oh, that's true.
Was
at the
first,
bar.
that was the first one-on-one. And then it was Adeline and Matsun being like, hey, I'll listen in your conversation. Of course, that didn't get to happen because Vorens was brilliant, was like, let's get outside.
And then
I like the idea
Matsun.
that Adeline was just sitting there the entire night listening and like, I guess they haven't met yet. Like she didn't get any sleep.
She fell asleep against the wall.
Right. But then Vorens takes you outside, has his one-on-one with the Vorens. And then in the beginning of 9.2 on the ship, on Captain Wolf's ship, another one-on-one between Adeline and Matsun, where Adeline kind of started smelling something.
Yeah.
Adeline started realizing that maybe Matsun wasn't being completely forthcoming. And then another one-on-one with Falling Star where we learn his motives of not taking the girl. Now, here's a question. Do you guys think Falling Star was lying? Do you think Falling Star did intend to take the girl back? Because he told you, like, neither one of us should have her. I think you know where she is. Don't tell any one of us. That's what Falling Star said to Matsun.
I feel like he made a character choice to do that ultimately. Like his mind was changed. I feel like I remember Dom even saying that, right? In the end, when we were kind of recapping after the game. Is that right?
Yeah,
I feel like you set him up with like you do what you want in terms of motivations.
For sure, and that's what I try to do for all of our guests. And portraying Vorens, who I think I gave him a voice and persona that perhaps it makes him completely untrustworthy, just out of the box. That I think that it gave a lot of pushback on Dom's side of like, oh, well, clearly they're the bad guys, and I want to take her back with us.
Interesting.
And
so
it wasn't until the end that he made that decision, I think.
So he sort of like just stepped into the role that was open.
Yeah.
More so than be like, okay, Vorens and I are in this. We're friends clearly, so I must agree with him, which is another way that somebody could have approached it.
And I did say that in our email exchange of like, Falling Star and Vorens have become chummy on this, against all odds on this trip for real.
Yeah.
But they're both there for other reasons.
Right. And it's interesting, too, because one of the lies that Adeline picked up on, or not necessarily lies, but one of the weird things where it's like, okay, they told us at face value, oh, yeah, we both were sent here by our people to investigate the gnomes. But then Matsun's like, oh, Adeline, the girl is actually Vorens' niece. And it's like, okay, well, are they really here to do that? Or is it obvious that they're here to find Matsun and the girl, which I think was a nice little piece of detective work and also just an interesting other layer there.
Yeah.
And ultimately, they decided not even to bother coming with us.
Yeah. And I was going to ask, actually, I feel like you said in the end, too, you weren't necessarily thinking Vorens would kind of take the path he took.
No. Yeah. I think that there was a lot going on in that battle, and choices ultimately that I think it was the choices that Matsun was making, and that really shaped things. That Matsun was pushing for and having this conflict with Terravin. Dom said some things to Vorens as well. He was watching this everything take place in this fight, and I think that ultimately it could have gone a different way in terms of if people had been more outwardly. Despite everything that Vorens was throwing at you guys,
right?
You guys were pretty nice to him.
Yes.
Like you never said like, well, fuck this guy. And as soon as that happened, then he would have just followed Paul Thurl's orders.
And in fairness, Vorens did have a caveat as a character, did he not?
He did, yeah.
Or a perk, rather.
Yeah.
What was that?
His perk was that he was had a high ranking in deception, which.
And any sense motives, even if they were a 20, would have been like, yeah, he's telling the truth.
Well, not even if they were 20,
well,
but
okay,
yeah,
sure.
but yeah,
it would have taken a lot.
It would have taken a lot. Yeah,
Right.
Interesting.
You just glossed over the conversations with Terravin and the interaction with Terravin. Let's not forget to talk about Alex Marshall Brown, who came and voiced Terravin.
Yeah, she's great.
And
so incredible.
We finally got to meet Terravin and hear her speak, and more things that weren't expected. Terravin is not a shadow elf.
Yes.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. That was a
Oh.
surprise to me too.
Mm-hmm.
How does that make you feel? What do you think that means?
I don't know. I think it's interesting in that, there's a lot of truth in something like that, where we have these legends and these stories that we tell ourselves, and we kind of change them in ways that we want to make them better to our own histories and stuff like that. Whereas the truth is a little more money. So maybe she wouldn't have been this great shadow elf legend if. And
it's so weird.
The truth was always clear like that.
If she does indeed choose, as Matson told us in, I want to say maybe chapter 4.2. When Matson told us the story, if the legend is like, oh, once in a generation, she helps out a shadow elf, maybe it's not just shadow elves. Maybe she helps out people of all races, from all, types. But she did say something that I thought was interesting, and that was when you said like, oh, maybe because obviously Vorens was like, well, this can't be her. She's a regular elf, right? That's what she was, right? Mm-hmm. And Matson says like, oh, maybe they got the legend only half right or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Terravan says they always do, or maybe they missed something and they always do. Like, I want to know the story. Like, why is she? Because if the legend was obviously fighting on behalf of the Shadow Elves ancestors, because that's what they said, like our ancestors from generations ago, there was this thing. So maybe the truth is that at some point the elves and the Shadow Elves were the one people.
Well, I think that we've learned specifically in the chapter with Layla, where we were down in the tunnels, that there's a lot in Rymoor and the history of this land just in general that gets lost, lost and distorted and changed. And so I think that's probably what Terravan was referring to, is that she's from a long time ago. And the world has a way of changing.
Very cool.
Super cool.
I got to give mad props to Paul again, because
I thought you said Matt props to Paul.
Matt props. That's what I call them.
Well, when he gives them, they are Matt props.
Yeah. Exactly.
If I were saying it, I'd give you Jake props.
Because
not to be confused with Matt Pops, which are ice pops in the shape of Matt.
Oh,
and are delicious.
They're fucking great. It's weird that they only come in lime, and I don't understand.
Well,
it was a manufacturing
Matt tastes
thing.
like lime.
Oh, manufacturing error. Gotcha.
When I came ready to play as Matson in the beginning, I tried to come up with as much backstory, and I talked with Paul. But this is before we rolled for the perk and the caveat,
right?
So both those things heavily influenced not only, I guess, my backstory, but where my story ended up. There was never a girl. We had to figure out a way to integrate that into my story, and it actually worked out really well, because rather than just Matson was always going to want the magic and try to get the magic back and everything, but it worked out in that it gave me a focal point to focus everything on her, and gave me like a choice. Like I have the choice, I can do this or not do this, rather than just a general being like, I want to get magic and powerful and get revenge. So that it actually.
I also like the question as well. So all right, so we know Matson as a general was tasked with finding this girl after she was kidnapped, or maybe not kidnapped, because we don't really know the truth there, because that's even still fuzzy, even after the Falling Stars information he provided. It seems like, just like Terravan, there might be some information that somebody's gotten wrong here. In any case, tasked with reclaiming this little Shadow Elven girl, and his feelings were so much so that he ordered the massacre of this village that she was rumored to be in, because they didn't have her, essentially. My question, the thing that I'm curious about and I like thinking about, is, was Matson always intent on taking this girl's power even before he lost his own? Was he always, set out on this path of destruction the second he found out about this girl and that she had this power? Was Matson ultimately just a power-hungry person, or did this obsession only start when his power was taken away from him? And I don't know if we have the answers to that or not, but it's a fun question to contemplate.
It does sound like a Matson question, though.
Right?
But maybe he won't answer that.
Yeah, it seems like a very personal thing. Yeah, I'll ask it. What is he going to do to me, right?
Yeah. Well,
he doesn't have his claw ring anymore. He can't take my power.
That's true. Yeah, and you have magic for sure.
What would Matson gain? What would he get with Jake power?
First off, he'd be really bitter about everything. He'd be mean to his closest friends, but they would still love him.
Wait, this is still true.
And he would have a terrible knee.
Oh, okay, that's new.
His knee would just be totally fucked. His right knee, just the worst.
So I have a have a theory, and it's funny to have a theory when you are composing the story as much as I am. But I'm not sure about this, because one of the things that was mentioned before is that I guess first of all, a question to put out there: why do you think Terravin helped Matson?
Yeah.
I mean, one could argue that given her status where she's at now, this spirit who is maybe centuries old and wise, sort of is clairvoyant or something, just knows what's coming, or maybe she's sort of like Doctor Strange in that sense. She sees all the paths, and this is one that was going to be the most successful, and therefore Matson was a part of it.
I think that Matson wasn't on the path he was on until he met the rest of the party in Rymoor. Because remember, the first time it happened, Matson wasn't familiar with it. Matson was, if I remember, his quote was, "Did you guys see that?" Which means that I don't think Terravin was with Matson before our story began.
Without Terravin, you guys would have fallen off a mine track into an abyss.
In chapter 1,
she helped us a lot.
In chapter 1, she hit that switch.
Yeah,
and this whole thing could have ended last May. We would have been dead. Like, that was chapter 1. Enjoy the rest of the show. It's over.
And Kelber Selfin would have died with us in that scenario.
So I think that Matt,
his pube cum would have saved him.
I probably would have just stabbed him. Probably would have killed it. Like, he would have been fine if he didn't land on that pube cum. God, I hope Rin takes care of that pube cum. I think that meeting the rest of the party it's like butterfly effect stuff. Like, that's what set Matson on the path to actually finding the girl. Had Matson not met the rest of the party, he would have been unsuccessful in finding the girl, and Terravin would have not connected to him. I think Terravin only connected to him once the girl became his destiny, because ultimately she knows the power and the importance of the girl. That's my theory and thought process.
Two very good theories.
Yeah.
And that being said, there was something that Matt said that when he first introduced the concept of Terravin, which I think I heard live. Like, I don't think that you sent me a follow-up email about Terravin until later.
No, you were really happy, Matt, when you busted that and read that story out. You were like, here's the story, and I was like, oh, he's happy.
And in that story, you mentioned that she helps a shadow elf once in a generation, and that there is a price to pay.
Yes, that's true.
One of the things I've been thinking about as the story has come to fruition is if Corvin is actually the shadow elf that she helps once in a generation. Because Corvin would have had a terrible home life, likely, with Paul Thurl and her mother. I mean, just however she would have been raised, she probably would have been raised to be used,
a tool.
A tool for evil. Or,
like Terravin said, like she was.
And then among the desert folk, likely it would have been a string of desecration along the way while they chase her. Who knows the kind of person she would have been sculpted to then. It wouldn't have been true to her, though. And so Terravin raising her in a way is saving her, but the price is being raised in the spirit realm. Maybe that's the price that Corvin is paying, is this robbed of her childhood still, regardless.
One could also think that the price is, as Falling Star stated, her staying in the spirit realm for another 6, however many years it's going to take for her to become an adult woman, is that war is not going to stop. So countless more will die in that war without her presence to stop it. Even though her presence might be just more of death and violence, then maybe I think you can interpret it that way too. Like, the price is continued war.
And that's why it's a theory on my end, is because unlike certain things in the story that I have a lot of control over, whenever my players come to me with new information that is entirely new to me, it becomes this gray area storytelling between the two of us that, like, there's room for theory between the two of our creations.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a really fun game, you guys.
It's amazing how the perks and caveats, at least for our group, this particular campaign, really were so fun. And I know Junks is maybe the least.
No,
they're the most active, though.
But you don't know yet. You also don't know yet. Why does junk have a sixth sense? Do you know? See, nobody
Radioactive
knows.
spider?
A radioactive squirrel? Yeah, but I know what you're saying though. Yeah, I don't think that mine didn't translate to my story. They actually helped my story because if I didn't get the clumsy roll,
I wasn't trying to say that. It's more like it's the most present. Certainly,
yes, it's
yours
most
is
present.
truly the most present, and it can affect our gaming.
Especially because you lost both your perk and caveat within the first like 2 chapters.
Immediately I had money and then it was gone. But see, Idlewild came to be in the flesh, and so it was really fun.
But it's not even that you had money and it was gone. It was that you had money, and then in the prologue, Matsun immediately had
so
more
much
money than you.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
So your caveat was like you have 3,500 less gold than Matt has now. That's your perk. That was your perk. And your caveat you undid by buying a scarf that undid your fire resistance. So it ended up just kind of undoing it regardless. So that's your own fault.
Well, I'm happy about the caveat situation.
No, that's true.
Obviously,
Yeah.
that could have been way worse.
It never. You never suffered a fire hit.
A single point of fire damage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adeline's super lucky.
Yeah. The opposite of Junk's clumsy. She's just very lucky. I want to talk about we can go on about 9.1 and 2 for ages.
Yes.
There were so many great moments fighting this. That was my favorite fight of our entire thing.
Spider lady?
Is the pirates and Ariadna.
I'm surprised that Matsun didn't hit on her.
Matsun hit on her. He hit on her a bunch. It was doing a lot of damage though.
Oh, you know what I mean.
Matsun got such a thrill from fighting her though. He's like, oh, this is awesome.
Finally, a worthy opponent.
We all got to play with our brand new special moves.
Yeah.
Everybody, like your spirit sprint was badass.
Worked very well.
Yeah, Matsun looked great. One of my favorite moments was Voren's being a little bit surprised by that. Like,
that felt good.
What?
Memories of Magic, even though you tried to use Memories of Magic against Polytheral and Sparklers came out essentially. Like
He jubileed at him.
yeah, it was just like it was like a childhood celebration. Jubileed. Well done. So much other stuff did happen in both 9.1 and 9.2. Was there any other things that specifically stood out that you guys were interested in talking about?
Well, I really wanted to ask you guys when we were finished playing, but I was like, oh, I'm going to save it until the roundtable. Were you guys surprised by this secret that Matsun? Did you have any idea that something was up?
No. You got me. Hook, line, and sinker.
I mean,
Paul, obviously, we talked about it over email for a long time, so Paul knew basically
always
everything.
knew it was coming. I suspected something about Matsun, but not to that level.
Ooh.
Yeah, he definitely kind of shocked me a bit.
I knew it from day one.
I will.
Wasn't something I came up with.
I'll
later.
say this: I took the story that Matsun told us about being exiled or not exiled, really sentenced to death is what I mean to say, and court-martialed. I took that at 100% face value. I assumed that there were secrets about him because of Matsun's inability to share literally anything with the group, even the things that we know that happened because of you, Matt, and because we are indeed playing a RPG game that you still didn't. I mean, for Christ's sakes, we had to twist your arm to get you to use the spirit blade in the spirit realm.
Good. Well, I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah, no, it was really fun.
It's one of those things where your play style and personality in roleplay gaming lends itself to somebody who can surprise us with secrets, because it's like the opposite of the like boy who cried wolf thing, where like if you were constantly like, oh, and here's another secret, then we would be like, okay, everything is a lie. But you were very like, I'm not going to tell them anything, really.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, even though I knew that part of the secret going in, there is a way with your playstyle where I feel like I generally have an idea of what Adeline and Junk are going to do, given their personalities. Whereas Matsun has a way of continually surprising me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me being inconsistent player.
Oh, yeah, no, that's what it is. 100%. You're really bad at this. No, I'm kidding.
Matt, are you good at poker?
Awful.
Really?
I got a chance, and I was really happy it happened. I got a tiny little chance to give a hint in 9.1 when Matsun is outside talking to Vorens about giving the beast, and I say, you know what I did to get her back.
And I'm so angry
that,
and I wondered if anybody picked up.
Oh, there's a lot. If 9.2 surprised you, go back and listen to 9.1. And Matt really started showing cards that we didn't pick up on at all, because it just seems like even if we didn't know what you specifically were alluding to, it just seemed like the type of thing a friend says to a friend. Like, oh, you know what I did? Like, I did everything I could. Like that, that kind of throwaway statement. You really, this guy.
This is gay.
There were two things that I did. If you are a listener of this podcast and you also are a fan of Dynasty Warriors / Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Boo. Boo. Stop making everything about your nerdy video games.
Those two things are that. So Voron's and I thanked people on Instagram for this already. I was like, thank you for putting up with me trying to do Voron's voice, which is totally inspired by Japanese anime, the beautiful man trope.
Yeah.
And
I wondered that.
I was
Nailed it.
first.
It's weird because you didn't sound anything like me.
And my first introduction to that was playing the video game Dynasty Warriors. There's a character named Zhang He who has a voice similar to that. And thus,
it sure is not Shanghai.
it's not Zhang He.
Oh my god.
Oh boy, might want to cut that.
Yeah.
And
Nope.
and additionally, the Stormrunner, Captain Wolf's ship,
Right.
is Cao Cao, one of the leaders in the story Romance of the Three Kingdoms and in Dynasty Warriors. That's one of his horses.
Oh,
cool.
So,
Ooh, wow.
Nice.
so I like to throw in little things that no
that's
one will
cool.
get ever.
I think honestly I did get that vibe, so that was cool. Nice job.
I also just one more thing that I could think of that Junk's arm got cut off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Voron's-
can we talk about that time spell?
Cut his arm off, and then out of nowhere. And I wish so. We talked about how great Dom was as Falling Star, but Dom is a very demure player.
Mhm.
The way that he plays as just Dom as a person, really, he's very soft spoken. He's the antithesis of me, where I'm just like, Jake, could you bring it fucking down a notch? Dom is like very soothing.
It's
Like,
weird when you tell yourself to do that.
it's very weird. Dom,
Yes.
he's so demure and so calm that when he delivered that, I think he got like a big response to everybody because he was like, so he's going to attempt to turn back time.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of like a what? That's a thing that you can do? Like, I mean, the
very
amount
cash, you know.
super cash, no big deal.
Yeah, and I'll lift the curtain on 3 of the spells that were used during Chapter 9. Among them, Falling Stars Turn Back Time spell that works in the way where the last 3 moves that were cast, he has the ability to undo, and the people who basically
did those moves.
the people who did those moves have to roll to keep the time from turning backwards.
their own defenses.
Yeah. And
Oh.
additionally, we talked about Junk's arm getting cut off. This one's really fun. It's Voron's move, Absize, where first he uses that big ass Dao Katana to cut off a limb of an opponent. And first it's a check to see if he's successful at cutting off a limb. And after he passes that check, then it's a roll of a D6. And it is, I don't have the paper with me, but I believe it's all 6 of the numbers are like
Limbs?
hand,
Right.
arm,
Oh my gosh.
leg, I think maybe other leg, and then like I think dick is on there too. Oh no, that's what it is. It's not other leg. It's head and dick.
Right.
What if you're fighting a lady?
Damn.
If you're fighting a lady, then it's a miss.
It's not a boob? They don't cut a boob off?
No, it's
Why
not
you
a
gotta
boob.
be
That's not the
sexist?
equivalent.
Because it has to be something, I don't know.
Extraneous.
I've seen some boobs. That's why I go ahead and say that.
And then finally the last move being Voron's move Exequi, which
The one that he killed the Spider Queen with.
that he
was cool.
killed the Spider Queen with.
That was badass.
That's a move that is guaranteed to kill an enemy, yet based off of his roll determines how many turns it's going to take for that
circle to
circle to
complete.
That's pretty
complete.
cool.
And he happened to roll very high on that.
Which is why it took a while.
Yeah, so there might have been one more round fighting that Spider Queen because she had a bunch of health.
Right.
But that's why he was yelling like, "Junk, get out of
Get
there!
out of there."
This circle's happening fast."
And you know what I think was nice about that was that Matsun had cast like a poison mist. So
Blood mist, yeah.
I'm sorry. That's right. Blood mist. So I interpreted it as just like, oh, like don't stop hurting yourself, you idiot. Like, so it's like it was a really easy thing to play as Junk, being like, no, I'm not gonna get out of here. I'm just fighting. I don't care if I get poisoned. Who cares? Like that was a really fun moment.
Yeah, the drama worked out well for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Paul, thank you so much for working with me and integrating all the stuff that I wanted to do and asked you if I could do into the story. I think you did a great job. So thank you very much for doing
Thanks.
it.
Oh, you didn't have to get me those flowers.
Oh, I know how much you like chrysanthemums.
They are my favorite. They have an odor to them, but they're great.
There's so many great moments that we could talk about, but I do want to talk very briefly about what happened after Chapter 9, and that is
shopping.
we did some shopping, y'all.
Oh yeah.
We sat in the town of Bitter Cove, and
If you want to call it.
what were some of the stores? Remind me of the stores that we went to.
Oh, we went to you went to the Copper Roof Inn.
The Copper Roof Inn.
I think that's where you ended your
Yes.
travels. You went to the blacksmith, and you also went to the Magic Barn.
Yeah.
My favorite. So many little gadgets.
Coming down to Al's Magic Barn.
I wish that's who it was. So you can hear the entire uncut, unedited shopping out, and we just let the mics roll, and we just did some shopping. We did a lot of stuff in character. So there is some canon in character stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed the Copper Roof Inn.
Yeah.
Especially the coffee
the
drinks.
Red Bull drink, essentially.
Yeah. The coffee drinks are very enjoyable. So you really want to listen to that. The entire thing is unedited and uncut, only at dndwpod.com. It's the only place you can find that. But for the sake of summary, just so you know, Junk bought an ivory necklace that adds +2 to his attack, a wolf mask headdress thing that adds +10 to intimidation, a couple throwing axes, and also a wolf head pauldron that increased his hit points by 15. Adeline bought an eagle circlet that gave her +5 ranged accuracy, as well as a few gnome hats for some reason. And Matson bought a, quote, sharp as hell letter opener, a diamond belly button ring that gives him 100% ice damage resistance. Yes, you heard me correctly. As well as a kraken pauldron that gave him 50% magic resistance, and a throwing axe as well. And everybody bought just a random hodgepodge of bizarre items from the aforementioned magic barn, including fart wands and sleepy slide whistles, exploding nesting dolls, all sorts of stuff. So I cannot wait for us to really utilize some of those ridiculous items in Chapter 10. It's weird that we now have we have like fart sticks and essentially tools that the Joker would use in a 1980s cartoon for the big bad for our final chapter.
Yeah, not to forget all those delicious yum run gingerbread men cookies.
Yes,
I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have an army.
I am thoroughly looking forward to that, even though I'm sad that Chapter 10 is upon us. But before we get to the sadness, let's get to the good stuff. Do you guys want to do a roundtable giveaway?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So, as always, a name has been picked at random. Hey, do you guys want to know how we do this? We go through all of the still edgeable ratings and reviews, specifically the reviews on Apple Podcasts. I make a whole big list with numbers, and then I literally roll a die, you guys. Because what better way to pick our winners than by the chance roll of
classic
a D20 multiple times. So how do you get involved in this? How do you become eligible to win? It's very simple. Go to Apple Podcasts and give us a rating and review. Everybody's eligible, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a new review. If you left a review, last year and you didn't win one, you're still eligible, and you will remain eligible into our next campaign, into season 2.
Yeah, it never ends.
It never ends.
Eligible for life.
We're going to be doing this until I am dead.
Which we know can happen multiple
times. In fact, the
times.
very final giveaway is going to be my ashes. That's going to be what we give away.
It'll be sooner than you think.
Oh, Paul's threatening to kill me, you guys.
We can have your ashes made into dice.
Oh my God.
That's a fun way.
Somebody's doing that.
Put it in your will. I'll take care of it.
Fuck that will. I'm putting that on my dream board. What's it called?
A vision board?
My vision board. My dream board.
It can be a reality.
The dream boards that the kids make. Kill me now. And then make dice out of me. Okay, so the winner of our Chapter 9
Oh, yeah.
round table giveaway.
Eardrums.
Do you add the snare drum now or later?
Every time. We've done 9 of these, you guys. Every time there's a sound effect that goes in after the fact.
I don't remember.
Guys, I'm not paying attention to it anymore. I'm just thinking about Jake's vision board, and it has like a lot of like cutout pictures of like Pearl Jam.
Don't look at my vision board. The round table winner for chapter 9 is LED Coyote.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Thank you so much for your review, LED Coyote or Lead Coyote. Maybe you're going with like Led Zeppelin. I'm not sure exactly what kind of what you're going
It's a
for
very
there.
bright coyote.
Hey,
That's how I visualize it. I visualized it like a very well-lit coyote.
Is LED all caps?
Yes.
yeah.
And coyote is not caps. Anyways,
Ooh, fancy.
LED Coyote, thank you so much. Their fantastic review entitled So Great starts with Orny is a cool guy and Matt is a tall guy.
Ooh.
Both
You
facts.
can tell just by listening.
You are this is the tallest podcast. Everybody knows that. They go on to say, this is one of my favorite podcasts. The amount of love and effort that Jake, Alexandra, Matt, and Paul bring to the show is palpable and
Aw.
obvious. The GM Paul has created such an incredibly detailed world. He and the players have built compelling and dramatic backstories for each of the player characters. And I really love the guests of quests. Their voices and personalities add so much to the adventure. I could not agree more.
You're here.
So much to our guests of quests. We cannot speak highly enough
They
about
add
them.
so much.
Yeah.
I must give strong kudos, they go on, to the sound design, production, and editing of the show.
Ooh,
They
go
are of
Jake.
extremely
That does
high
deserve
quality,
Yeah.
making every episode a gripping and immersive experience. That really hits me in the feels, you guys.
Jake works
because
so hard on
I
this.
work very hard to try to make sure that these episodes sound as good as possible, which is why at the beginning of every episode I say this is best in headphones. I know that that's annoying, especially if you're driving in your car or you're not listening on headphones. And I don't mean to what's the word? Isolate you? No, what's the word I'm looking for? Not isolate.
Single you out?
No, not single out.
Pet you?
Exclude.
Demean
Open
the
the door.
I am doing
experience.
an opening the door gesture.
Swimming with one
No.
with one arm.
No, never mind. You guys know what I'm talking about. I don't want to alienate. That's the word. I just needed to start over.
Okay.
I don't want to
Whoa.
alienate you, but if you can get a nice pair of like over-the-ear headphones, it's the best way to listen to our show. I guarantee it. And lastly, they write, I absolutely love this pod. I've binge listened for the last couple of weeks to catch up to the present, and I'm slightly bummed that I have to wait for more episodes.
Aw.
Oh, so are we.
I am so sorry. But you know what? As we get towards endgame here, the episodes become a lot more cumbersome. And
Yeah.
and my desire to make them more and more epic and more perfect grows. So I do apologize that we have fallen out of our normal schedule, but I assure you the wait that you have now had between each chapter is only because the final product we're giving you is the best possible final product that we can deliver. And next season, we're going to be better.
We're gonna reorganize some things
Yeah,
for sure.
I think-
it'll be better.
I think we started a little ambitious.
Yeah.
Doing
Well, we
every
didn't know
week.
fully what we were getting into. I think especially you in terms of
Yeah.
sort of the work that goes into it.
Yeah, little known fake news about Jake is that he has like a full Foley studio, and he like does like the thing like with like carrying the buckets of water and
Yeah.
popping the bubble wrap and like all that.
You know what pisses me off?
Freaking celery.
Was
and all
the
that.
first thing I bought was coconuts, and we've only ridden like 2 horses in the
Yeah.
entire thing.
Well, Horse needed to recuperate. Nora is taking good care of Horse.
Aw.
Horse is still kicking. Okay. Hey,
Kicks Nora every day.
LED Coyote, thank you so much. To claim your prize, all you have to do is shoot us an email at contact@DNDWpod. Once again, that's contact@DNDWpod. And if you want to be a future winner of one of our roundtable giveaways, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. Guys,
Yeah.
I can't believe we're at chapter 10.
I know. We're here.
Chapter 10 is here.
Junk finally
Here we
gets to
are.
see Orny again.
Maybe.
Maybe.
His papa.
His papa. That's weird. And
Daddy.
I want to talk really quickly before we wrap things up here about you, the listener. So we have done a lot of work in reaching out to potential partners and sponsors for season 2 so that we can bring more people into our incredible adventure and our incredible story here. We think, if I could be a little pompous for a moment, that we have one of the best shows like this there is.
Yes, sir.
I think that our show is different and unique enough to be an individual amongst a very crowded world of D&D shows, many of which are spectacular, and I'm taking nothing away from any of them. I think that we are a bit unique and we are different, and we so much appreciate you, the listeners. With that said, we want to make a massive push in between season 1 and season 2 to try to get as many people on board with our show as possible, to not only make it more desirable for potential sponsors, but also help us make the show. With that said, I want to attempt to recruit a D&DW Digital Street Team. Essentially, if you are willing to help us out online by, making sure that you're on the Reddit posts every time someone says, hey, what's a good D&D show out there? Or, doing your best on social media to share our material and just sort of help us spread the reach. We will figure out a way to bring in the Digital Street Team into the show and give them something for their efforts. We don't know what that is yet. This is the first, these 3 people are all staring at me like deer in headlights because I haven't brought this up to anybody yet. So I'm putting this out there into the world. If any of you listening are like, hey, you know what? I really like these guys and I like the work they put in and I really want them to succeed and really make season 2 not only a worthwhile experience, but the best possible experience, then please shoot us an email at contact@D&DWpod or write us a private message on Twitter or Instagram or any of the social medias. Actually, speaking of Reddit, I forgot we actually now have our own subreddit. Some incredible woodland elf created us our very own subreddit. And they did it a while back, but we didn't find it or we weren't aware of it. We are finally now aware of it. It is, reddit.com/r/DNDWpod. And we are there now, so you can talk to us directly. We will try to be active in that. And that's actually a great way for us to maybe kind of stage this little Digital Street Team and coordinate it all there. As well as, it's a great fun place for us all to go and just talk about this awesome show we've got going on. So yeah, we now have our own subreddit, our D&DW pod. So go there, check it out, and help us get ourselves out there.
Yeah. Maybe one will make a vision board for us.
And if it's not clear, getting these sponsorships and partnerships, it's not about, we're not going to go out and if we get this money, we're not going to go out and buy Lamborghinis. It's more about making the show as good as possible.
Exactly.
Better equipment.
Could you imagine getting enough money for all 4 of us to buy a Lamborghini?
No, I can't.
We all share one Lamborghini.
Furthermore, I can't picture you in a Lamborghini.
No, I historically do not care about what car I drive.
I've noticed. So yes, Matt is correct. We're not. Here's the thing: is like we've talked about this ad nauseum. A lot of time goes into the show. At this point, we just want to make the time that we are spending part of the primary thing we're doing, instead of having to do the ultra late nights and to sacrifice time that we should be making money elsewhere on. So that's sort of the goal in this. And as usual, make sure you're checking out D&DWpod.com for a bunch of bonus content. Check out our unedited shopping outing and check out all of the fantastic journal entries. We post a ton of cool things from Paul's DM notebook for every chapter. So you'll see maps that he drew. You'll see images of the baddies that we're fighting. Tons of cool stuff only available at D&DWpod.com, where you can also click the shop button and buy some sweet D&DW Pod inspired merchandise. Who doesn't like some awesome D&DW Pod t-shirts? I got myself my Critically Clumsy shirt, and I am quite happy about it. So anybody who has picked some of those up, any of the shirts, we've got our awesome Rymoor shirts. We've got our Guest and Quest shirts. We've got tons of fun stuff in there, and there's more stuff coming. Please make sure you check that out as well. And before we go, last but certainly not least, we say it every week, please follow us on all social media.
Hello? Holy shit.
Hi.
Guys, a random door just appeared in the middle of the Dragon's Den, and Matson stepped through it.
You're going to lose your deposit.
Is this not Morganfall? I think I went to the wrong door, you guys.
This is Burbank, California.
Burbank Fall.
Burbank in Rymoor?
Planet Earth. Is there a Burbank Rymoor?
I don't know. I went back through into the spirit realm real quick. I was gonna pop in Morgenthau real quick and get my keys.
Oh, you were trying to get back to Morgenthau. Oh, so you went back into the spirit realm after exiting.
Just real quick. I didn't tell any of the rest of the party because it's kind of
that seems really dangerous for you to do, is to go back to Morgenthau.
I just really needed those keys.
What do they do?
They open doors.
Oh, okay. Not in Morgenthau?
Do you guys not have keys in this world of yours?
We do. That's,
we
you know what? You're right. Dumb question. Well, hi, Matson. Thank you, I guess, for sitting down on microphone immediately. That was very instinctive of you just to sit immediately down after walking through a portal.
Oh, sure.
But if you don't mind, while we have you, we should chat for a couple minutes, ask a couple questions, no?
I guess my first question
sure.
is Jake, are you gonna be able to get your DVDs back that disintegrated as soon as that doorway opened?
You know what? They're mostly for
aesthetic
at this point now.
Okay.
I'm not worried about it.
That's fair.
Matson, you remember us, right?
You seem familiar, yeah.
Okay. I'm not sure why you wouldn't. Do you often come to this realm?
Apparently I do.
All right, that's fair. Good point. Matson, we're aware of what has happened, and I gotta say, we're all a little bit surprised to learn some things about you.
Oh, you heard about that, huh?
We did hear about it. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm still full of grief, but to be honest, I'm glad now that it's out in the open. It's not something I have to hide anymore.
Oh yeah, you feel like relieved. The burden has been lifted.
It's definitely a mixture of emotions, but there's some relief there. Yeah.
I mean, when you say it is out in the open, you mean the fact that you ordered an entire innocent village to be slaughtered, man, woman, and child?
When you put it that way,
what? When I put it that way, what? It sounds worse than it is. It's terrible.
It was a terrible thing, wasn't it? Yeah.
I have a question, and I just mentioned it with my cohorts here. Matt, you're being awfully quiet, but he looks petrified right now at Matson sitting next to him. Were you always after the girl's power even before you ordered that town destroyed? Is that why you ordered the town destroyed? I'm sorry, I know this is I'm putting you in the hot seat here, but
no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't until at the time I had felt that my own people had betrayed me, and I knew about the girl, and after I was stripped of my magic and stripped of my rank and said to be executed, I knew that if I found the girl, I could come back to Morgenthau and get my revenge on those who had wronged me.
Oh, I see. Interesting.
And Matson, do you feel good about your decision to not take her magic in the end?
I do. I definitely made the right choice.
I mean, you've been growing a lot of your own magic anyway in these lands.
It's true. It's still nothing comparing to what she's capable of, but yeah, I can't say I don't have nothing anymore for sure.
Do you have a scar? I'm just curious because I when I found out about how the claw ring works, that you get stabbed like right in that nape area of your neck with this claw ring. I've never seen that. Why would I see that part of your body?
Yeah, it's kind of gnarly. Do you want to see it?
Yeah, Matt,
Ooh.
can you help him reveal that?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
see that right there?
Oh, geez.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, amidst the constant other knife wounds that you have, it's a bit underwhelming in that motion, but it's clearly there, and it has like 4 little tiny holes where the claws went in.
It was extremely painful. I'll tell you that.
I can imagine. It's so painful that you almost put a young girl through it, but I won't harp on that.
But yet it seems you're harping on it.
That's fair. I have another question for you. Do you have a fond memory of a specific party when you were younger that had some sort of meaning?
A party? I don't understand.
We know that you attempted to summon memories of magic, and inspired by some memory of a celebration, you seem to summon sparklers. In lieu of something that would maybe hurt an enemy, and I'm just curious maybe what that was.
Well, I can only say that the fireworks in Morganfall are quite spectacular. If you ever get a chance, you should come by and.
It sounds like a lovely place.
You should come by and check it out on Terravin's Day.
Terravin has her own day.
That's right.
Terravin the Untouched, Terravin the Merciless, Terravin the Not a Shadow Elf.
Yes, I learned a lot of things too recently. That was a very interesting one to learn.
What do you make of that?
I can imagine that seeing a figure of an elf in glowing orange would have never, as soon you can never tell what they actually are.
Yeah, I mean, something didn't look quite right, but I just figured, this is a spirit. Well, who am I to say what it should or should not look like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have a question, Monson. Do you think when this is all said and done, if you make it out, that you'll stay in Rymoor?
I really don't know. My plan always was to go back to Morganfall, and now things are so in flux and so up in the air, and Rymoor has really grown on me in a way I didn't expect. So I'm not exactly sure what the future holds. We still have a great deal to do ahead of us. I don't know if there's much point in thinking well beyond that. I'm kind of focused on this coming battle.
Yeah, the big battle.
Do you think that Orny and Rin have succeeded?
I have to have hope that they did. Orny is a pretty smart guy, and Rin is obviously an extremely skilled warrior. So I would say...
So hopefully you guys all show up to Bravefrost and everything is just fine and the mission is over.
I mean, that would be ideal, sure, but I'm not exactly counting on that much.
What would be the signal to you that, what would you have to see visually to feel like, okay, we've arrived in Bravefrost and everything's fine?
That's a good question. I've never been to Bravefrost, so I couldn't tell you what a defeated Bravefrost might look like. But
I guess if I may step on your toes here, Paul, I think you're asking what would Orny do to let them know? Is that kind of what you're alluding to here?
Or would just walking upon a whole bunch of dead gnomes, oh,
right,
a bunch of dead gnomes, and then
I find
Orny naked in the corner.
I find it interesting that we say a bunch of dead gnomes and Matson chuckles. I find that telling.
Well, I guess I would say if a shadow elf, a human, and a half-orc all show up in Bravefrost and aren't killed instantly, I'd say that's probably a good sign.
That's a very,
You're a
very
smart man, Matson. You're a smart man.
Matson, what's the future hold? I know that you say it's hard to look past what's immediately in front of you, but what is Matson's happily ever after if he gets what he wants?
I haven't given it much thought. I can only hope that I can do some good in winning this war.
Okay, all right.
Do my
Noble.
part.
I'm going to pitch something to you here.
All right.
You and Junk, roommates, real bachelor pad scenario. Okay, you guys can go out and drink and get into all sorts of silly shenanigans. Make a name for yourself as being kind of like the cool guys in the neighborhood. Maybe mercenaries, maybe heroes for hire. I don't know. I feel like there's something there. I feel like there's. All I'm saying is I spin off is what I'm feeling here.
Sure. I would have to teach Junk a lot about basic hygiene, personal space.
Wait, is he not good at those things?
I think we know he's.
I
not
do
good
remember
at those
him
things.
stinking when he was here.
So perhaps if with Adeline's help and.
By the way, I didn't include Adeline in that because I'm assuming she's going to meet somebody and be happy. But you two seem like you're destined for one another.
Perhaps.
So presumptuous.
Matson, do you have a last name or do you have a first name?
Great question. Thank you, Paul.
Yes, to both of those questions, but that is one secret that will remain.
Come
me.
on!
Oh my gosh!
Let me get at least a little bit more information out of you, okay? When you were in the military, fighting for the Shadow Elves, and they said General Blank, what did they say?
It was General Matson.
Okay, so I think maybe we can draw an assumption that Matson is his last name.
Yeah,
not necessarily.
Intriguing.
I'm just going to say this, okay? All your secrets, for the most part, have come out. If you really want your party members to trust you, maybe tell them your real name.
Let everyone know your name is Clarence.
Clarence Matson.
I will say this: it is not Clarence Matson.
Well, Clarence, we're going to let you go. I'm sure you're very busy. I know your party is shopping right now in Bitter Cove.
Yes, I must go. If you see my keys, let me know, would you?
We'll keep an eye out.
Well, definitely keep an eye out for your keys. I'm not sure what they would be doing here, but I'm assuming that they just like classic, like big brass key ring, giant keys that are like 7 inches big.
Sure.
That only have 2 little notches on them, right? They all look exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because there's like a spider keychain attached.
Oh,
Oh.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Matson. I guess, how do we get that door to reappear?
Oh, I know.
Oh, look at that.
Wow.
Oh, thanks a
Paul
lot.
knows everything.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't realize they would have the clapper, but all right. Well, bye, bye, Matson.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Interdimensional clapper. I wasn't expecting that.
Matt, that was crazy, huh?
Matt,
I
you were
like
very
that guy.
quiet. You were very quiet.
I'm usually quiet, so.
All right.
And guys,
Oh, you've had his keys
Man,
this whole time?
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't want him to go back to Morinfall.
That's fair.
That's
Neither do we.
fair. Yeah.
Well, this has been one hell of a roundtable to end one hell of a chapter.
Mhm.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Find us on the social medias, shoot us a mail on the website, buy some stuff, do all the things that you know we want you to do, but most importantly, please tune in for Chapter 10.
It would be ridiculous if they didn't. I'm going to stop at 9.
That's fair.
And I'm done.
With that said, we are done. On behalf of everybody here at Dungeons & Dragon Wagon, Paul Bianchi,
Adios.
Matt,
See ya.
Alexandra,
Bye-bye.
I am Jake, and we will see you next quest.
It's Dragon Wagon.